we're going to be talking about 3 things to say during the next sales meeting to get hiring managers to pay you a higher fee. And we're going to dive right in just a second. Just want to make sure that he's actually going to the group.
And while you're doing that, if you're an owner or director of a recruitment search firm, ultimately you're in business to make money, and ideally to make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible. And one of the most obvious ways of doing that is getting the highest possible fee for the work that you do. So when you get this, this can have a dramatic impact on your business. So it's the 3 things to say to get the highest possible fee from your hiring manager.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so one of the reasons we did this is one of the questions that we get like quite often, or one of the concerns, headaches that we hear a lot from the recruitment and search personas we help, is that they're speaking to hiring managers, speaking to potential clients, and they're unable to, I guess, get the fee that they want, and they're feeling like they're constantly being forced to reduce the fee, give discounts, for fear of losing the business. But I mean, when you consider the impact the right candidate can have on an organization or a department, or even on an individual level to the hiring manager, the value that you deliver as a recruiter far outweighs any potential fee that you could ask for, right? The value that you can deliver, the outcome, the potential upside to the business that you place that candidate in, any fee that you could ask for far outweighs that. So there's always been this big headache or problem, why can't I get the fee they want, even though I can clearly see that the person I'm selling to, or the hiring manager or the decision maker, are going to get a much bigger return. They're going to get that ROI. Why are they so concerned about the fee? And I think, unless you can, accurately demonstrate the value that you can deliver to the hiring manager, it really counts for nothing, and you're going to get asked to reduce your fee, or I think even sometimes worse, they will go with a cheaper provider other than you. And there's always going to be another, regardless of what your fees are, there's always going to be another recruiter in your sector who will be willing to do it for cheaper. So part of your role as a salesperson in this, in this dialogue, or the owner of the business, is, okay, how can I, accurately demonstrate the value that I can bring, or the value that the candidate I place brings to the organization? How can I accurately demonstrate that in a way where, the fee becomes almost irrelevant in the eyes of the person buying from me? So it's not about the fee. They're more focused on the upside of having the right service provider, i.e. you, and the right candidate in place. Terry, does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Drew. And there's a couple of things there. First of all, is that's why the higher the level that you recruit at within an organization, you're more likely to get higher fees, because the more critical that role is in the business, the more they're going to value what you're offering. Because ultimately, the hiring manager doesn't want recruitment. Now you say, yeah, but I'm a recruiter, that's what I'm going to offer. They actually don't want that. What they want is a solution to the problem that they're having at that time and moment, because they haven't got the right candidate. So ultimately, part of this process is to stop selling recruitment and actually sell the solution to the problem that the hiring manager's having. And quite frankly, if the hiring manager isn't having a problem or a challenge in that particular area, they're not going to buy from you or from anybody else. Or if that problem isn't big enough, if it's only a minor problem, I'm going to extremes now. So perhaps if you're putting a body into a warehouse, warehouse staff, and all they want is, they just want bums on seat, quite frankly, at that level, then they're less likely to. But certainly if you go further up the food chain, and this role becomes even more so business critical, then they're going to pay you a high fee if you can communicate the benefit in them doing that.
Yeah, perfect. So we're going to be looking at 3 of the things that you can say during your next sales meeting to get your higher fee. But I just want to make it clear the power that comes in getting a higher fee. I think, speaking to a lot of recruitment and search business owners all over the world, I think sometimes people, especially like almost smaller firms, and they think, I haven't got an office, I work from home, I don't have many overheads, and because of that, they sort of, ignore or neglect to even look at. And some people, you know, often I ask a question and a lot of people don't even think about it, but what is your cost of delivery? How much does it cost you to deliver on an assignment? Because there will be an associated cost there. And the higher your fee is where, you know, that's effectively where the profit lies, right? You've got your cost, you got your cost here, and then your fee, you want your fee to be obviously significantly more than your cost of delivery. I think sometimes you can neglect or ignore what that cost of delivery is and reduce your fee thinking that, you know what, I've got little overhead, this isn't really a big deal. But in doing so, you know, massively slashing your profits, massively crippling your cash flow. And if you've ever been in a situation where, you know, it gets to the end of the year and, you know, you sat with your accountant or bookkeeper or whatever, and they're saying, look, this is how much revenue you've done, and this is how much profit you've done. And, you know, either one, you're not happy with the profit, you're not happy, or it might not even be the end of the year, it might be day to day. You know, you're winning business, but you're not quite happy with, you know, you haven't got, I guess, breathing space with the revenue you're bringing in and the outgoings. Or, you know, it might be that, you know, the profit's good, but at the end of the year, you know, the accountant's saying, look, this is how much profit you made, and sort of thinking, well, where is it, right? Because you haven't retained that in cash. A lot of that comes down to the fee that you're able to charge. Like the higher fee that you're able to get, you know, the easier your business becomes effectively. And I think if your biggest selling point is, you know, a low fee, you know, quite frankly, your first year in business is going to be as difficult as your 10th year in business because you haven't built up that profitability. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, and often recruiters, go back to the point you said about recruiters, the argument they have with themselves, by the way, and justification is, well, my overheads are low, so I can charge I can charge lower fees. And all you're doing, in effect, is undervaluing the value that you bring to the hiring manager. That's all you're doing. And when you get this right, you can go from, and sadly, most recruiters right now are surviving. And I can almost guarantee that when you set up in business, your intention wasn't just to survive. Your intention was to thrive. And if you really want to thrive, then you've got to charge higher fees. You've got to stop positioning yourself as a commodity. Oh, so-and-so down the road can do it for 15%. So if I offer it for 14%, maybe I'll get the business. The moment you're positioning yourself like that, all you're saying is, the company down the road and what we do is exactly the same, and I'm just going to do it a bit cheaper. But here's what we know: no matter how low you go, there's going to be another recruiter somewhere that's going to go even lower. And the one that goes the lowest is the one that's got the lowest, who has the lowest value in terms of what they're offering. Now, you may be listening to this and saying, but I've got no choice in this, and I'm forced to accept the lower fees. That isn't true at all. The majority of cases that we talk to, when we speak to recruitment business owners and we talk about the fees, the fee they're getting is merely a reflection of the fee that they're asking for. See, some recruiters say our fees are 20%, but they've got the hands behind the back with the fingers crossed, thinking, do you know what? I'd actually take 15 because they're not committed to that, whatever that fee is. Whatever fee you get is the fee that you've decided to accept. You haven't been forced to accept that lower fee, because whoever you're working with, that's also your choice as well. So if a client said to you, I'll tell you what, you can have a business at 2%, majority, I like to think, 99% would say, no, I'm not going to work at that fee. And you would choose to walk away. And all we're suggesting here is that if you do this right, you can just raise your standards and get much higher fees than you're actually getting right now. But if you're not getting the fees that you want, it's merely a sign of the hiring manager right now, you haven't communicated the value you're bringing to them. You're not communicating that to them right now. And the moment you can start doing that is the moment you can get higher fees. And that's why the likes of Apple, we use Apple as an example with their iPhones. It's the most expensive smartphone in the world. They have a large percentage of the smartphone market, but it's because of the value that they communicate, they bring to users of Apple iPhones. Or in fact, most of the Apple products are a lot more expensive than than any of their counterparts, but they don't position themselves as a commodity. This isn't just any smartphone. This is an Apple iPhone. Does that make sense, Drew?
It does. It makes perfect sense. And look, just to dive into more of the how, when selling recruitment, when you're in a sales meeting with the hiring manager, one of the challenges that we have is you're selling a service rather than a tangible product. So, people don't get the opportunity to see, feel, experience your service until after they've bought. And, you think about when you're buying a lot of products, we can look at something and see that it's higher quality, see that it's going to solve the problem that we have. But with a service, we're relying on the dialogue and the communication from the salesperson. And where a lot of people go wrong is, simply put, they, Terry said right at the beginning, like they focus on selling recruitment rather than doing what they should be doing and what we're going to advise them to, which is, focus on the prospect. What are their fears, wants, needs, frustrations, and desires in relation to what you sell, right? It's outcome-based selling. What will recruitment, what will your service give them that they don't have now? What are their fears about your service, wants, needs, frustrations, and desires? Maybe about past people they've experienced. That's what we need to be focusing on. That's what they're buying, and that's what's going to get them to overlook your fear if you're more expensive than somebody else. If you've done that job well and they haven't, most recruiters quite frankly don't, because they're so caught up with the thing that we love, which is recruitment. They're so caught up with how good they are as a recruiter, and what they think is a unique selling proposition, and they don't even know what the selling proposition is. Like, the thing about USPs, one, they have to be unique, and a lot, talking about your experience, things like that, it's not unique. Two, like, you don't know what the selling proposition is without actually asking the prospect what's important to them. Now, I see people talk about USPs and speak about USPs, and my thing is, if someone says, "Oh, so that's what our USP," well, it depends what the prospect wants. We might not even be the right person for them, But when you're clear on what the prospect wants, what is their selling point, then you can focus on that. What is the upside for them if you place the right candidate? Emotionally, financially, what's the upside for them? And then also, what's the potential downside if they get, if either the position remains unfilled or goes unfilled, or they get the wrong candidate? That's what we need to be drawing their attention to. Without doing that, all they're comparing you with, the only contrast they've got is their past experience of working with a recruiter who may be cheaper than you. And if they are, and you're saying, essentially saying the same thing, and it's like, well, I'm comparing your fee to that person's fee, and if your fee's more, I'm going to go with that person. But if we can instead of compare it to another recruiter, get them to compare it to their upside. When you place that ideal candidate, what's going to change in their business, in their department, in their decision maker or hiring managers, what's going to change in their personal life. If you think about the value that you provide as a recruiter, in some instances, you're not only growing a business. I think that goes without saying. A lot of the time, you're not having a direct impact on the growth of the business, the performance of the business, or the performance of a particular department. But you're also, if you look at the hiring manager's personal life or the decision maker's personal life, if they've got a skill shortage in their team and they're having to work extra hours to make up that skill shortage, you're also giving them time back, which also, if you think about it, it's going to save their marriage, going to save their relationship with their kids. That's what we want to sort of dig into in a selling conversation, because if you ask someone how much they'll pay for a recruiter, there's a limit to that. If you ask someone how much they'd pay to save the relationship with their kids, it's almost priceless, right? So that's what we need to sort of shift their focus away from recruitment and onto the upside of getting the right candidate, and also the downside of missing out. Is there anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, every single hiring manager that you talk to has problems in three main areas. It's be around time, often lack of time; team, often around members in their team who are underperforming; and money, and often that's around the bottom line. So ultimately, your service should be solving problems around that area. So Drew talked about fears, wants, needs, frustrations, desires in relation to what you sell. So fear is often around loss. Now, what is it? What is it they're fearful of losing? So for those that don't know, my background, I worked within IT, and I would recruit CTOs or project managers, project directors. So we would talk about the impact this individual will have on the projects that they're working on. So with the right individual in place, projects are delivered on time and to budget. With the right individual in place, they can manage a team and improve the performance of the team. Because ultimately, that's what the hiring manager wants. They want those things solved, not another recruiter or another body in their team. So all your communication must be about that. And Drew made a really good point. It's about focusing on the impact on the business, the impact your offering will have on the business's bottom line, the impact that your offering will have on the team performance, the impact that your offering will have on time, both for the other members of that team and also for the hiring manager as well. Because the moment you start communicating about that and solving those problems, you're going to get the hiring manager's attention. And what's also interesting about the fee then is less important. You know, if you're, let's say your average, your fee is, you know, your salary is 100,000 whatever currency and your fee is 20%, but somebody comes along and says, actually, we can do this for 15%. So the difference is 5,000. If you're talking then about the impact this individual is going to have on the bottom line, majority of hiring managers will pay that additional 5,000 in their local currency to get the right candidate because of the impact it's going to have on their bottom line. Majority of hiring managers will pay that additional 5,000 because the impact it will have on that individual's personal career and the impact it's going to have on the time they're going to have in the business. And that's what we often joke about. Don't sell recruitment, sell the solution. Sell the solution to the problem that your hiring manager is having right now. Now, here's the problem. You need to establish what that is. But if you kick down the doors and go, hi, I'm a recruiter, I've been established for 20 years with a database of 10,000. I really care. This is our mission statement. You're really missing the point because that's not offering a solution to their problem. So when Drew said, you know, you might have an ESP and whatever your USP is, it's absolutely irrelevant if it's of no interest to the hiring manager. Back to you, Drew. My son's just coming to interrupt this call. I'm in the middle of a call and you're coming in to talk to me. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, look, let's dive into what the three things you can say here. So I want you to imagine that, you know, we've done our job in a sales meeting. We know what the potential upside of the right candidate is, you know, emotionally, but also financially to the business as well, and what the downside is as well. You know, then we give our fee. And a lot of this is about confidence and how you say the fee as well. I think that's important to mention. But then these are three, I guess, questions that we use. I actually got from a mentor of mine called Rob Quinn, actually, but just to temp check where the prospect is in their mind, and then, you know, give us an opportunity to, I guess, revisit the upside and downside if they're not quite in line, right? So the first question is, and again, you can use this for one, getting the fee you want. You also use it for winning exclusive or retained business as well. So whatever you're I guess, negotiating and sales, you can use the same 3-question framework to make it work for you, right? So the first question is, can you see why? So for example, if it's around their fee, you'd say, look, can you see why our clients pay this to get this particular outcome? Now, can you see why our clients are happy to pay 25% to get, you know, a candidate's going to help their business achieve this, right? And if you've done a good job of explaining that in the rest of the sales meeting, they're going to say yes, right? Can you see why most of our clients prefer to go down the exclusive route so they can get an exclusive pick of candidates who can achieve this, right? And again, we want it's a temp check, right? So if they say no, it gives us a chance to revisit that and explain further. But ideally, we want them to say yes, and we know they've bought into the value that you provide versus the outcome that you can deliver. Terry, anything you'd add to that on the first part?
Yeah. Let's stay with IT because that's my background. Can you see why this particular project manager will enhance the performance of your team? So once you've agreed on what they're looking for, and can you, so you probably need to tweak the language. Can you see why top performing project managers will enhance the performance of your team? It's probably a slightly better language. As Drew said, you're just checking the temperature. If they say no, I don't see why I need a top performing. That's another conversation. But in majority of cases, they're going to say yes, I can. And it really is as simple as that.
Awesome. So question one is, can you see why we're temp checking where they're at in the the sales dialogue? Number two is we want to check what's a minimum viable win for them, right? So and the question is, if it were to get you X, right? So depending on what their ideal outcome is. So if this was to get you 5 candidates or shortlist of 5 candidates with a proven track record of X, would it be worth it to you? Right? And again, they're going to say yes. If I'm going to get 5 candidates who all want to join my company.
Hi, I think we've lost Drew. So I'm gonna carry on because I can't hear him. So I do apologise for that because I can't hear him. Yeah, you're back now. Yeah.
I think maybe you went. I don't know. I'm not sure. Can you hear me now?
I can. Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you just want to repeat that because I'm not sure who went, whether it was you or me.
Okay. So what I was saying is, question one is, can you see why? Question two is, if it were to get you, and again, depending on what outcome they've said that they want, right? So if it were to get you a shortlist of 5 candidates who all want to join your company with a proven track record of delivering X results, would it be worth it to you? And again, they're going to say yes, right? Or ideally, again, if it's no, we need to backtrack and see where there's been a miscommunication, right? So question one is, can you see why? Two, and then question two is, if it were to get you, would it be worth it to you? Terry, check it out.
Nothing to add to that, Drew. Actually, no. You keep going.
Perfect. And then the final question is, again, we want to sort of move to the close where we're closing them off on a decision. Are you in a position to make a decision on this today, or are you in a position to go ahead today? So that 3-question framework, like, you can use it to get the fee you want, but also to get the terms you want as well. 3 critical parts is, 1 is a temp check to see where they're at. 2 is we want to make sure they're clear on the fee, the value versus the outcome that they are going to receive, right? If they're not clear on that, they're never going to buy from you, right? So we want to check in to make sure they're clear. And then final question is, we want to get a decision from them. Again, one of the big mistakes we see a lot of recruiters make is they have great sales meetings with a prospect. Everyone gets on, everything goes really well. They don't even bulk at the fee necessarily, but there's been no communication there, and it's like, well, what happened? Are they going to buy? Oh, they're going to get back to me, right? So we want to get an answer there and then, just so we know where we stand in the conversation. Terry, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I think you've summarised that really well. And just a last point, and I've been as good as this as any other recruiters, where Drew said you have these great meetings, you come out and you think, what a great person, we've got on absolutely fine. But as a recruiter, you haven't asked for the business. The hiring manager says they're going to get back to you, and that's all they've said. No commitments been made there. So you go back to the office, you're then sharing this great call you've had with your manager, and your manager says, well, when is the hiring manager going to get back to you? Oh, I don't know. And all that's happened there is you've lost control of that call. And just when they say they're going to get back to you, just say, yeah, that's absolutely fine. When would be good for me to call you back, or something like that? But just get that call back back in control is what you're doing. So temp check the value, and get a decision is what it's all about. But it's about asking the right questions. Excellent, Drew. Thank you very much indeed.
Awesome. Sorry, Terry.
So just to remind you, normally we're here every Thursday. We haven't been here we weren't here last week. I think the week before we had a few challenges, but normally we are here every Thursday at 1500 UK time. Sorry, Wednesday. Every Wednesday, 1500 UK time. So please join us live. Is there any particular subject you want us to share with you and do some training on? Let us know. We're more than happy to do that. Drew, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Until next time, folks, take care, take action, and be relentless.